All right, welcome back. I hope you had a good Memorial Day weekend. Today we are continuing our practice exam series where I'm going through an entire RBT exam, question by question, breaking down each question and explaining to you how I think you should think about questions from the perspective of a BCBA. So if you're enjoying my videos, please like and subscribe. I appreciate that, and it helps me so I can keep putting out all this content. If you need our study materials, check out rbtexamreview.com, our website, or one of these links, which I'll put in the comments and descriptions below. We offer a couple practice exams, the full task list study guide, and then our combo comes with everything plus flashcards. We also have a competency assessment study guide as well, which is new and so far has been really effective, really useful. So I recommend checking that out as well if you have an initial competency or a reassessment coming up. Other than that, keep studying hard. Any questions or comments, please leave them below or email me. I'm happy to help. Let's get into it. All right, so we are starting with question 61 today. During long car rides, Billy would tap on the window several times in a row. Billy's mom decided to buy him an iPad for car rides. Now, when they take car rides, Billy's mom gives Billy the iPad, which provides Billy with automatic reinforcement. Billy no longer taps on the window. This is an example of what? Okay, so based on our question choices, our answer choices, and the question, this is a differential reinforcement question. By now, if you've been using my videos and my study materials, you should know how to approach differential reinforcement questions, okay? We need to ask ourselves the first question, okay, and determine if it's DRO, okay, DRI, or DRA. Well, in order for it to be a DRO, what does it have to be? We would need to be reinforcing in the absence of a behavior, okay? However, what are we doing here, okay? Billy is receiving reinforcement when he's on the iPad, okay, and not tapping on the window. So we are reinforcing in the presence of a behavior. The iPad is providing Billy with automatic reinforcement for being on the iPad. So therefore, it can't be DRO because we're not reinforcing in the absence of a behavior. We are reinforcing in the presence, okay? So DRO is out. DRD is diminishing rates of behavior, but it does not apply to the situation. And you don't necessarily need to know that for your RBT exam. So that leaves us with DRI and DRA. So either this behavior is incompatible or is an alternative. So the question we ask ourselves now is the behavior that we are reinforcing incompatible with the behavior that we are putting on extinction? Can Billy play with his iPad and hold it in his hands while tapping on the window? Are those behaviors compatible or are they not? Well, they're incompatible, right? You can't tap on the window if you have both hands on that iPad, okay? So, therefore, this is differential reinforcement of incompatible behaviors. The replacement behavior of being on the iPad is incompatible with the behavior of tapping on the window. And that's how you need to work through differential reinforcement questions. First, is a DRO? Are we reinforcing in the absence of a behavior? If the answer is no, then we go to DRI and DRA. Is the replacement behavior incompatible with the behavior we're getting rid of, or is it compatible? If it's incompatible, it's DRI. If it's compatible, DRA. These questions don't need to be hard, okay? Make sure you understand that. Go through it a few times. I can always say, if you don't, then do differential reinforcement last, okay? Learn everything else and come back to DRIs and DROs, okay? They can be trickier than other things. All right. Moving on, question 62. Which of the following is the best method for identifying the function of a behavior? So we have some procedures here. We have functional analysis, functional behavior assessment, indirect assessments, and direct assessments. The 4 assessments you need to know for the exam, the 4 types you need to know. You don't need to know the ins and outs of every single assessment, all right? But you need to know the principles behind each one, the general idea of each assessment. The question is asking us, what assessment is best for identifying the function? Well, let's go through them. We know an indirect assessment is what? It's an assessment that does not observe the client. So surveys and interviews, it's the least accurate, you could say, or effective or valid assessment. Not that it's not useful, it's just you can't really determine any behavioral functions from an indirect assessment. because you're not directly assessing the client. Okay, direct assessments and functional behavior assessments are better, right? We start to take ABC data, we might do some event recording, and we're actually observing the client in their environment and engaging in the behaviors we're studying, right? So we're closer to identifying the function. But the question is asking what's the best method? And the best method for identifying the function of a behavior is a functional analysis. Now, as an RBT, and for the RBT exam, you don't need to know a lot about functional analysis. Just understand that it's the most powerful assessment for identifying the function, and it involves actual manipulations of antecedents and consequences, okay? So you might help with the functional analysis every now and then, but for the exam, just know it's the most powerful form of assessment for identifying the function of a behavior. All right, 63. You've been working with a family for over a year now. One day, the mom tells you about a new Netflix documentary she watched that claimed autism can be cured by eating frozen peas every single day. She asks your opinion. What should you do? All right, we have an ethical question here. This is a not uncommon scenario. There's a lot of information out there now. Parents are constantly researching, constantly learning about autism, as are we. So there are a lot of theories out there. And as an RBT, especially as you become more acquainted and closer to the families, you'll be asked these questions sometimes. What do you think about this diet? What do you think about this new lotion or this new procedure? And there's just one thing you should do as an RBT when you're put in this situation, okay, where you're giving your opinion on these more technical, okay, and high level questions. There's one way to approach it, all right? So let's look at our answer choices, okay? Again, mom watched Netflix documentary. She asked your opinion on the procedure. What should you do? A, tell your client they're crazy to believe that theory. Of course not, right? We never want to insult the client. With our ethical questions, okay, we want to give a strong answer, but we don't want to go too strong, too far, or we don't want to go too weak, okay? We want a strong, common sense answer. A is too far. We don't need to tell our client they're crazy, okay? B, politely decline to give your opinion and refer the client to the supervisor. Yes, okay? So right now, this is the best answer. We're going to read the rest of them, but in a situation like this, where you're asked behavioral questions, treatment plan questions, medical questions especially, you always want to refer to your supervisor, okay? Now, you might be knowledgeable on these subjects, right? But ultimately, your supervisor is responsible for the client, okay? And your main role as the RBT is implementing procedures, okay? So you can work in conjunction with your supervisor. And if you're in the situation where your supervisor is present and you're asked this question, then you might have more leeway to give your opinion. But if it's just you and the parent, and they're asking you very specific questions like this, okay, you should always refer out to your supervisor. Because if the client were to go on your advice and you say, yes, this works, and then it doesn't work, okay, then it comes back, right, on the whole team, okay? So always, always, always politely decline to give your opinion and refer your client to the supervisor. All right, always read all the answer choices. C, watch the Netflix documentary first and then share your opinion on this diet. Again, you might be curious and you might want to further your understanding of what's out there. So you can watch the documentary, okay? But then sharing your opinion isn't necessarily the right thing to do, okay, in this context. And then D, report your client to the authorities. Again, way too strong, right? We don't need to report our client to the authorities for, simply doing research, okay? There's nothing illegal going on here. So the best answer choice in this situation is B, politely decline to give your opinion and refer your client to the supervisor. 64, you and your friends are watching the Super Bowl. A commercial advertising Taco Bell's new Gordita Crunch is shown. You all suddenly agree that you have to go get Taco Bell at halftime. This commercial functions as a, so this is a ABC question, antecedent behavior consequence. What are we asking ourselves? Okay, we're asking first, is our answer choice the commercial? Does it happen before or after the behavior? Well, the commercial happens before you agreeing that you need to get Taco Bell. Okay, so we know we're looking at an antecedent. So we can eliminate what? Consequence. Now we need to ask ourselves, does the commercial in this situation make us want this item, or does it signal this item is available? Okay. Now, Taco Bell, right? We agree that we have to get Taco Bell. Taco Bell has been available from the start of the Super Bowl, right? We at any point during the Super Bowl, we could have gone to Taco Bell and gotten Taco Bell, right? However, what did that commercial do? It increased the value of Taco Bell. Therefore, it altered the value, right? And it made us want, so to speak, Taco Bell. It altered our motivation to go get Taco Bell. This commercial did not signal that Taco Bell was available, right? And now it's a little tricky, right? Because it says the new Gordita Crunch, right? But we didn't agree to go get the Gordita Crunch. We just said, let's go get Taco Bell. Okay. So therefore, the commercial simply altered the value of Taco Bell and it increased our motivation to go get some. Taco Bell was always available. Our motivation just increased once we saw the commercial. Okay. So remember, MOs make you want or not want. SDs signal the availability. Okay. It's going to tell you it's available. All right. That's a tricky question. So go through it a few times. If you have questions about that question, please leave a comment below and I'll be happy to answer them. Okay. Just again, understand that Taco Bell was always available. Only once we saw the commercial did our motivation to increase to go get the Taco Bell. Therefore, the Taco Bell value was altered by the commercial, making it a motivating operation. All right, 65. Frequency and rate are often used interchangeably in behavior analysis. What is the distinction between the two? It's extremely common where frequency and rate are just referred to as the same thing. However, there is a difference, okay? And you should know the difference, okay? Because it's important that we use it the right way, even though a lot of people don't, all right? Everybody will either just say, take frequency data or take rate data, okay? But they're two different things. So what is the difference? And this is a very easy question if you've been studying your terms and definitions, which I hope you have. So you should immediately know the answer, okay? But if you don't, you need to go back, okay? Look through the study guide, right? Look through the flashcards and relearn and re-strengthen those terms. So A, rate measures how long something occurred, while frequency measures how many times something occurred. So what's wrong with A? Well, rate doesn't measure how long something occurred. What measurement does that? Duration, okay? So A is out. B, rate is an indirect measurement. Again, incorrect. Why? Well, rate is a direct measurement. In order to get rate, we have to actually observe the behavior. We need direct measurement. So B is out. C, rate is frequency with a time component added. Yep, exactly, right? We have our frequency data. We have our count. And once we add time to that frequency, so frequency over time, we get rate, right? So you ate 5 popsicles is frequency. You ate 5 popsicles per day is rate. See the difference? Frequency is just the count. Rate is the count plus time. And then D, there is no difference between the two. Incorrect, there is a difference, okay? And it's important you know the difference, right? Because we should use it correctly. 66, you're planning a trip with your group of friends. You start a group chat with everyone in it. Your phone vibrates every 1 to 3 minutes. Which schedule matches the schedule of your phone vibrating? All right, tricky question here, right? We're looking at, based on our answer choices, basic schedules of reinforcement. So VI, FI, FR, VR. We are looking at, okay, the phone vibrating 1 to 3 minutes. And the question wants to know what schedule is the phone vibrating every 1 to 3 minutes. So first thing, dead giveaway. Are we looking at, when we're looking at basic reinforcement schedules, are we looking at time, so intervals, or are we looking at responses, so ratios? Well, our phone every 1 to 3 minutes, it's time, right? So we're looking at some sort of interval schedule here. So we can immediately eliminate B and C. That leaves us with A and D. We have a fixed interval 2 or a variable interval 2. So what is the difference between fixed and variable? With fixed, that schedule doesn't change, right? So a fixed interval 2 would be every 2 minutes, and it's constant. With a VI2, a variable interval 2, that's going to be the average of 2 minutes. So it could be 1 minute, It could be 3 minutes. It could be 2 minutes, right? And that's what's happening in this scenario. Our phone is vibrating on average, let's say 2 minutes every 1 to 3 minutes. That leaves us with a variable interval 2. So again, we're looking at time. So we're looking at interval. We're looking at a average schedule or a changing schedule. So our schedule is variable. And then we're 1 to 3 minutes. So on average, it's about 2. So our schedule matches the schedule of VI2. Okay. Basic reinforcement schedule questions, very easy, right? Break down by variable versus fixed, and then interval versus ratio, and you'll never miss one of these questions. Okay, 67. Which of the following is an example of response generalization? So we have stimulus generalization and response generalization. Now, what's our trick for the two? When we're looking at stimulus generalization, we're looking at one response with multiple stimuli. With response generalization, we're looking at a single stimuli and multiple responses. So this question is asking, we're looking for response generalization. So we're looking for a scenario where we're looking at one stimuli evoking multiple responses. So let's see. A, you teach your client to wash their hands at home. Your client can now wash their hands at Target, Wendy's, and school. All right, so do we have one response or multiple responses? We have one response, which is washing their hands. Do we have multiple stimuli or one stimuli? We have multiple stimuli. We have Target, Wendy's, and school. And therefore, we have one response across multiple stimuli. That's stimulus generalization. So A is out. B, you're staying over at a friend's house for the weekend. They ask you to not use the white tiles, so you use the green tiles instead. Now response generalization, you're using discrimination. You're discriminating between white tiles and green tiles. C, you receive a text message that says, what's up? Sometimes you respond nothing much. Sometimes you respond working. Sometimes you respond bored. Want to hang out? All right, are we looking at one response or multiple responses? Well, we have nothing much we have working, and then bored, want to hang out. So multiple responses. How many stimuli? We have received a text message that says, what's up? One stimuli. So therefore, one stimuli, multiple responses. That is textbook response generalization. And then finally, D, read all the answer choices. You're teaching your client how to multiply. You ask, what is 2 plus 2? And you say 4. Your client responds with 4. Okay, that is a prompt. So our answer is C. Again, response generalization, one stimuli, multiple responses, stimulus generalization, one response, multiple stimuli. So the answer is C. Question 68. Which of the following is not an example of punishment? So on the test, be very careful about these not questions or these except questions. So they're asking you what is not an example of punishment. So that means there's going to be 3 examples of punishment and 1 that isn't. Okay. A, Lewis continues to disrupt the class. Every time he does, the teacher yells at him and says, I'm going to send you to timeout. Now, is this punishment or is this a threat? Okay. Think about it, right? So he's disrupting the class. Every time he does, the teacher yells at him and says, I'm going to send you to timeout. Does the teacher send him to timeout? Does she not? Does the behavior change? Okay. There's no way to be sure, right? To me, it looks like a threat. There's no indication of the behavior changing. Therefore, it can't be punishment. Okay. Remember, when we're looking at reinforcement and punishment, we're looking at how it affects the behavior. If the behavior increases, it's reinforcement. If the behavior decreases, it's punishment. If the behavior doesn't change, okay, then it's neither. We can't tell. We have to look at the behavior change and not the actual procedure. Okay. So read the rest. Joe missed his curfew last night, so his parents took away his car keys. Joe no longer misses curfew. So Joe's behavior what? Missing curfew, keys taken away. Joe's behavior of missing curfew decreased, therefore it's punishment. Tammy buys soup from the deli. When she gets home, she pours the soup in a bowl and microwaves the soup in a bowl. When she takes the bowl out, she burns her hand. She no longer uses that bowl. So what happened? She heated up a bowl. Bowl was hot, burned her hand. Her behavior of using that bowl decreased. Therefore, it is punishment. And the D, Bobby answers 3 questions correctly in a row. The teacher says, "Great job, Bobby." Bobby's friend starts laughing at him. He stops answering questions. Okay, so this is why we need to look at the impact of behavior. Okay, so what is the impact of behavior here? It is Bobby answering 3 questions correctly in a row. The teacher says, "Great job, Bobby," which traditionally we might believe is reinforcement, right? However, what happens to the behavior? Does Bobby increase answering questions? No, he actually stops. So his behavior decreases. So Bobby's friends start laughing at him. Okay, we're actually looking at punishment here. So again, whenever you're dealing with reinforcement and punishment, you have to look at the behavior change. Did that behavior increase to reinforcement, or did that behavior decrease and make it punishment? All right, 69. Your client has difficulty discriminating between different items and will always choose an item to their left when presented with choices. What type of preference assessment is most appropriate? So this is pretty common with some of our younger clients, where you offer them items and they'll always pick one to the left or to the right, okay, regardless of what it is, right? So that leaves preference assessments, they can make them pretty ineffective if they're only choosing the right or left item, then we're not really sure they're choosing what they prefer. So in this scenario, what's the best way to handle this? Is it a single stimulus assessment, a forced choice assessment, a multiple stimulus without replacement assessment, or a multiple stimulus with replacement assessment? So think about B, C, and D. What are we doing? We're presenting 2 or more items, okay, 2 items in forced choice, and then 3 or more multiple stimulus, and having our client choose. But our answer or our question says our client only chooses items to the left. So how good or how effective are these assessments going to be if our client is only choosing things on the left? Is it really going to give us a clear indication of what they like? Probably not, right? So our best bet, given the answer choices, is probably to use a single stimulus assessment. Okay, you just present one stimulus after another and observe and record how they interact with that stimulus. Okay, you could also use a naturalistic assessment where you let them roam free. Okay, but it's not an answer choice here. Okay, they want the best answer, and offering them multiple items when we know they're only going to pick the left one is not going to be effective. So therefore, we want to use a single stimulus. Okay, observe them and record their interaction with that stimulus. We want to eliminate the possibility of them only choosing the left item. Okay, this is basically what we're doing. All right, and finally, 70. You're assigned to a BCBA to assist in an assessment for a brand new client. During the course of the assessment, you ask your client, say your name, give me a high five, what is 2 plus 2, and other basic questions. What are you doing? So, brand new assessment, we need to determine what level is our client at. We want to get a good baseline and just get a sense of where they're at. So you're asking them a bunch of basic stuff. What's your name? Give me a high five. What is 2 plus 2? Okay. Basic questions, just kind of in the flow of things. What are you doing? Okay. Naturalistic teaching or DTT? Are you actually teaching in this scenario? Are we providing reinforcement? Are we providing feedback? Or are we just asking questions? Well, based on the information, we're just asking questions, right? We're not teaching anything. We're not sitting at the table running trials. We're not waiting for situations to teach. Okay, we're just asking questions. Therefore, A and B are out because we're not actually teaching anything. So we're either shaping or are we probing? Well, are we shaping any behavior? Are we reinforcing approximations? Or building up to an ultimate behavior? Again, no, right? We're just asking them to perform different skills and seeing if they can do it, which by definition is probing. Okay, so I hope that helped, right? Next week we'll continue. We'll do 71 through 80. Again, if you need any of the practice materials, please check out our website. Check out the links below. I apologize for the audio today, right? I'm on a different computer, so if it's a little fuzzy, it's going to be fixed again next week. Please like and subscribe. Any comments or questions, leave them below or email me. I'm happy to help. Enjoy your week, enjoy your holiday, and I will see you soon.